All right, welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show. Thank you for being a part of it. And Wednesdays are for AJs, and we've got one of them here today, Mr. Aaron James Hawk. AJ, middle of the week, sir. How are we doing today?
Oh, doing well, man. Awesome weather outside. Obviously, this beautiful fall weather. I'm sure you guys have been out there coaching your kids and doing stuff. So, yeah, great time of year, man.
Wait,
Thanks for having me on again.
You mean in the desert where there's no rain and it's just like, there's a way to get kids tough. Like, no matter what they grow up with and what they have, you go have them practice out in a dirt patch, and I think that's going to toughen them up a little bit.
Oh, it does. Yeah, you're right. When there's, it looks like there hadn't been water in 3 months, and it's rock hard, and there's also like a lot of unevenness and giant holes where you could lay human beings in there and they would disappear. Like, it's impressive, these kids, how they can kind of dodge those landmines.
Hey, I want to ask you this. First off, AJ, you look exquisite.
Thank you.
I mean, that your dress of the day, right? DOD, I think is phenomenal and really fits in the mystique that is AJ Hawk. Hey, tell us about this though, because you and Pistol were on Ryan's 600th episode. Like, that's
you go on every 100 Schlegs if you didn't know.
I know, but it's the fact that it's 600. I don't even know what that is in Spanish. That number, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis, says something, right? Tell us about what you guys were chopping it up on his podcast.
Yeah, so my dad and my brother, my middle brother Ryan, his podcast, the Learning Leader Show, we go on there every, I guess, maybe it's 400 or maybe 300, 400, 500. This was the 600th episode, and we go on there and do like a family roundtable situation. He takes some questions from his different people that listen to the show, and we just talk about whatever's going on. They always do some kind of snake draft thing at the end for some, we make some list. But it was fun, man. It's cool to get on there because every time it's pretty easy to I guess mock your dad's answers to any questions that he has, and Ryan and I think do a decent job of not making it all about that.
What's a snake? What's a snake draft? I mean, I know about like play hide the snake, but like what exactly is a snake draft?
Honestly,
what are we talking about?
Well, yeah, it's a fantasy draft. It's a fantasy draft situation deal. But I don't, honestly, that's part of it too. I don't completely understand the snake draft either. So that's part of it. I mean, we kind of go through that actually at the end of it.
Does that have to do with what your response would be if walking into one of like the other person's house and you found a stash of 1,000 bottles of baby oil? Like what your response would be?
I mean, maybe you could, I would just assume that, hey, this person loves the kids and they're just taking care of kids all over the world, and they want to send these. Maybe they're sending care packages and we just don't know. They're just waiting to get sent out, and they bought them wholesale, so they just have 1,000 of them laying around. But someone just texted me earlier. One of my buddies, actually Doug Dadish, he said whoever had that account is in trouble now. Can you imagine having that account if you're selling thousands of bottles of baby lotion, oil, whatever they're doing?
Well, I mean, hey, listen, they're trying to go against price gouging, right? So they're just buying them in quantities, get them at a lower cost. And again, we know from the Great Joe Dirt movie, right? It rubs the lotion on the skin. You got to get it moisturized. Hey, side nugget. We're talking football. Like what got you juiced last week in the world of CFB?
I mean, so I didn't get to see every play, but what's going on? Georgia won 13-12 over Kentucky. I know Kentucky's a squad. Things like that are a bit interesting to me. Honestly, how about Indiana? Like, what's Indiana doing? Signetti's just over there killing it too. So I'm curious to see how they keep moving. But you know what? It's whenever the Bucks are on a bye week, it kind of sucks. It feels like it's a weird situation, especially when it's perfect fall weather. So I'm pumped for them to take on Marshall this week, and hopefully I'll be taking my kids and going out there.
Well, that's why I know you're going to be heading down there, Age. I'm sorry I can't be joining you. I'm going to be down in Baton Rouge for LSU, UCLA. So excited to kind of watch how they do a game. I'm sure it's going to be live and fun. But this is the 20-year anniversary of the 2004 season. Ohio State played Marshall that year, 24-21. Mike Nugent banging a 55-yarder with time expiring to win that game. Your thoughts and remembrances of what happened in that game and how we got to that point?
Man, I don't know a ton of specifics. I don't recall a ton of specifics leading up to it. I definitely remember Nuge making that kick, and I had so much faith in Nuge. Like I told you guys, like I don't remember Nuge ever missing a kick. He's that good, I feel like, in my brain. But I remember just being relieved when he made it. Like, man, what's going on? Like, people were like running around, jumping and celebrating. Like, I'm not in like a super. I don't feel like we won the Super Bowl by any means. They were a good team though. They really were playing great Centerville Zach Elsis was on the line there too.
Oh, yeah.
So one of my old high school teammates was squaring off against him for the first time in college. But yeah, home game like that, just kind of squeaking out a victory. That's the thing. You got to be able to win games, I guess, when you don't really bring your 100% A game.
I looked up some of the stats this morning, Age, because Beam wanted to pull them all up. I'm like, this probably isn't going to be very good. Like offensively, we had like 300. So we had like 300 yards passing. We rushed it for over 100. And I'm like, I thought they maybe rushed it pretty well. Ahmad Bradshaw, who was going to play a number of years in the league, I think he had about $140 that day on us. So maybe not the best effort. They said a lot of it was between the tackles, mostly in the A gap on the strong side out of Mike linebacker, though. So I feel better about that now.
I don't know if that's the case. I think, Bob, we both know if there's a running back and fullback in and they see Schleg's head there in the middle, they're like, all right, buddy, we're going out. Let's check outside zone. Let's do a toss sweep because we're not going to go in there and just get CTE instantly.
I'm gonna have to go check those stats there, Bob. I like that though. I mean, I can honestly tell you guys, I don't remember a damn thing about that game. Like, was that like the third game? Because we played, let's see.
Yeah, it was the second. We played NC State the next week. I looked it up.
That's what it was, right? And we won that one. So that was our 3 in a row. And then we lost the next 3. Because wasn't the fourth one Northwestern at night?
Yeah.
Late. I definitely missed the open field tackle on that one. Again, you remember the bad ones. I'm like you. I don't remember. And I had 100% complete faith in Mike Nugent. So I don't know. Buckeyes. Hey, guess what? We got the dub, bro. Dub and Hawk.
Hey, we got big noon. Brady's going to be in town. You heading down for that with the Marshall game?
Yeah, hopefully we're gonna stop by whenever he's there and we go to the games. We can stop by the set. My kids get to see Brady being he's like a TV star out there, and they watch him on TV, but they get to see the whole thing happen in person. It's awesome. So yeah, I'm sure Brady's kids will be down there. It'll be fun, a fun weekend.
Hey, do you get to go out and will you guys tailgate? You're just going to take the family? I was actually going to ask you this first. You on a bye week, what did you do? And then now that you're not playing, going to a game with the family, do you guys tailgate? You just tailgate at the house and then go and just kind of be spectators? Like, how's that playing out now that you're older?
No, we go. I fully embrace tailgating. I enjoy it. And Bob's not going to be here. Bob's usually my wingman, my guide, and knows all the great spots that we can stop by. But I love it, man. Especially when you bring the kids. We see so many former players, former guys, teammates of ours, and they bring their kids, and our kids are out there throwing the football. I mean, it's like a movie. We're out there to nice weather, as I've mentioned multiple times today. Like, it's awesome. So I like bouncing around, and then sometimes getting like a pregame field pass to, if the kids are there, we can go watch some warm-ups. It's always special for them. But no, man, I'm bouncing around, want to tailgate for sure.
This is kind of a bigger question, Age, like a little college football, little NFL. I sit down there on Saturdays, Sundays, trying to watch as much as I can. Are you amazed at the amount of bad ball that there is being played? And is this just due to lack of guys in the preseason, in the NFL, maybe guys transferring more in college? But it seems like there are just there's abundance of terrible errors, I guess, late in games that cost teams, in critical situations.
Yeah, that definitely happens. I mean, you would think as the season goes, it'll kind of clear itself up, and teams will, I guess, find their identity or figure out how to win or whatever you're going to do. But yeah, maybe it does. I mean, college football is pretty wild now, how it's going. And I would imagine if you can't keep the same core group together, at least, and grow year after year, at least for a couple of years, it's tough. Yeah. Like, how do you get everybody on the same page when so many people are coming and going? That may have something to do with it for sure. But I don't know. Like, the NFL, we're not, as of right now, they're not scoring points like they have before. There's a lot of field goals as well. And dudes are bombing field goals too, though. These kickers are awesome. But I think as the season goes, we'll see offenses start to open up a little bit.
Do you see that kickoff coming into college football? I kind of like it, right? Where it's like, hey, it's in the drop zone, you can return it or not. But you see that coming down the pipeline of college football?
I mean, you'd think if the NFL stays with it and they say it's safer for people and it has more kickoffs coming out of the end zone, then yeah, I could see it coming to college. But it takes some time. It looks weird, man, especially when they don't bring it out over and over. Like, it looks like practice.
Absolutely. One last thing here. I know you got to get going. You got Pat coming up. Is it I believe Josh Myers, center for the Packers, Buckeye. I mean, literally threw up on the ball, like mid-cadence, snaps it back to Malik. Malik plays with it, ends up running because it's a ball with vomit. I heard you and Pat talking about it. And, the floor comes out, and it's like, I asked the ref, do you want him to stop it? I asked him, like, well, what did you want the center to do? Like, he can't just like stand up like, hey, my bad, hold on. I mean, it'd be a penalty. Like, so at some point, like, the ref is the only one that can stop the game.
Is there something in, like, does the ref have the power? I guess he could blow the play dead and get the ball out of there, but man, he would have had to act quick because it was puke and then snap right after that. So it would have, if you'd have blown that play dead, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, hopefully it doesn't happen too much more, but I guess if the weather continues to be somewhat hot, yeah, maybe it's going to happen again.
Hey, where are we at on the Halloween costume? We got any more headway on that?
Yeah, we're trying. We have like different ideas. I mean, I don't know. Like, what are you guys thinking? We honestly haven't nailed it down yet.
What should we do? We should do a poll of that, Bob. Like, what should we wear to AJ's, and whatever people come up with is like, that's what we got to wear.
What about you, Bob? You don't have your, like, whatever you're going to wear?
Well, I try to talk to Court. When you have a couple, like, you have to go with her, and she usually doesn't appreciate mine because my costumes get so aggressive sometimes. And
yeah, I understand her feeling that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, age, you train. I'm like, it's like I'm going to train. Well, train for what? Like, train for a game? Hey, old man, when was the last time you played? I don't.
This is your game. Yeah, let you get your costume on and show them all that hard work. It pays off. Like, this is me. I'm jacked. I'm gonna wear a singlet, or like basically to the one year the charity event, you pretty much wore like a couple leaves around your meat,
around your wiener.
You had that safari. Well, I mean, whatever it takes. You had that safari theme. I was just trying to really lean in to being a man of the bush. You get some sort of leopard print, some leaves, whatever it takes. We did throw this at Bobby Carp Show on social. Get there. Tell us what you think AJ should wear. Maybe Schlegs, maybe me. You can throw that in. AJ will be gone. We'll talk about it later today. And then also, when you circle back around next week, AJ, we'll get a chance to talk to you about that. Maybe give you and Beeb some ideas, because I know it'll be fun and a good time. But we appreciate you, sir. I know you got to get going here for McAfee. Enjoy the big noon. Enjoy the family being down there. Hopefully your kids will clog some toilets in the suites, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
The one, the only, the great AJ Hawk. And look at that. He's got those brand new, it's nice, sparkly, pearly whites that are looking really
those are good looking teeth, man.
You want to make sure you're protecting those. And how do you protect what matters most? With X-Sport mouth guards, trusted by professional athletes and designed by NHL team dentists. X-Sport mouth guards are scientifically tested to absorb the high impact hits, protecting both your brain and your teeth. See, AJ never wore a mouth guard, so his teeth were a mess. So you got to spend some cash. You got to get them fixed up afterwards. His brain is probably a pile of mashed potatoes. So don't worry about that. X-Sport's mouth guards, they've got 3 layers of advanced protection, including patented carbon fiber. You'll love that. They're 3D printed with their custom technology to fit your mouth. That means more protection, better performance, maximum comfort, and clear communication, so you can focus on your game, not on your gear. Don't take chances. Visit xsportguards.com/Bobby. You get 15% off, folks. These are going to be nice. They're going to be ones you want to use for all your sports. Go there, check it out. X-Sport Guards, protect what matters most. All right, coming up next, a lot of big stories happening in college football. One state is taking it a little more seriously, trying to protect their big-time schools. Find out what state that is and what they're doing here next on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the.
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like... I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer.
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
All right, here we go. Back into the show. We appreciate you tuning in here Make sure you're getting involved in the stuff on social media. You also got me at 𝗟𝗓𝗡. You got at 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗘. Give him a follow. Throw some stuff in there. All your questions. Listen, all kinds of nonsense happening here, folks. You know that, especially when we get AJ involved. So be a part of the fun, be a part of the action. Get involved with us anytime. Make sure you're following the show. Like, subscribe, leave your comments. We'll throw those in there. We'll toss them at the guests, whatever you need. Thanks for tuning in, whether it's on social media or watching on Bally's each and every day. So really appreciate that. Georgia, Schlegel.
Yeah.
Doing some interesting things. Big football state, if you didn't know that. They've got the number 1 ranked, well, I guess number 2 ranked Georgia Bulldogs right now. Winners of 2 of the last 3 national championships. Kirby Smart's got them rolling. A lot of NIL stuff going on. And we're in this situation right now because of a failure for the NCAA to act for about a decade and a half, burying their head in their sand. All of a sudden, California 5-6 years ago comes out with legislation that they're going to allow NIL. The story was, boom, well, then California schools just aren't allowed to compete. It's like, that's not going to hold water. Other states start doing the same thing. Next thing you know, do you want to destroy my sweater, Schlegs? Pull this thread as I walk away. Weezer knew what was up. The NCAA didn't. So now Georgia's passing a law as they're trying to figure out the House investigation, the House settlement. And it is executive order. So this wasn't passed, I believe, through their state legislature. It's just simply executive order by their governor. Who cares about it? Talking about student athletes excelling at the highest level of intercollegiate athletics. NCAA entered into proposed settlement for litigation, the House settlement, yada, 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 name, image, and likeness. And basically what this says, you can see the highlighted red part, neither the NCAA or any athletic conference, so that would include the SEC or any other organization with authority over intercollegiate athletics, shall take any adverse action against post-secondary educational institution in the state of Georgia for such institution facing compensation, offering compensation, compensating intercollegiate student athletes for use of their student athletes NIL, name, image, and likeness, provided that there is no post-secondary educational institution that shall use these funds allocated by the state of Georgia for such comp. So basically what that says, boil it down. They would be able to continue to pay their players. They would be able to pay their players out of stuff as long as that money's not coming from the state. Shall become effective with the signature of the governor. It says any federal law enacted after this date, so this is key, of this order regulating the rights of student athletes shall receive compensation or use. So if there's a federal action, that's going to change some things. And effective date of any settlement relegated to the litigation, which is the House case. So we've got some other things that are going on, but basically what they're doing is protecting themselves, Schlegs. Should anything else transpire or they try to limit the scope of what's going on, they want to make sure that they can continue to pay their student athletes in the state of Georgia to make sure they can continue to compete at the highest level without restriction.
I love it. It says, now, therefore, by the power vested in me as governor of the state of Georgia, it is hereby, poof, David Copperfield, these are our peeps. We want to be good. Go Dogs, right? So I love it. They're taking initiative. They're trying to protect their school. It can only be changed by a federal order. Buckeye, go Dogs.
I mean, do you think any other states do this? Like, what do you think the ramifications? Like, they take this first action. They were the first mover in this.
Yeah.
What we've seen historically over the last 5 years, if you could consider that historic, is that once one state does this, other states do it. Do you see other states making this same move to try to protect and insulate their athletic programs?
Well, I would think if you look at, Athens and Georgia football and what it does in the state, and you also have Georgia Tech and Georgia State that are right there in the Hotlanta, right? Like, very easily go look at Ohio State. And what is Ohio State football in the state of Ohio? What does Ohio State football mean to the economy of Ohio? It's significant. We all know this because we live in Ohio, Bob, and we're in the media aspect of it, right? Money ebbs and flows predicated upon Buckeyes being Buckeyes. Like, that's just the reality of the situation. When they're winning and they're doing great, money's great. If not, because all the people are listening, they love Ohio State football across the state of Ohio. So guess what? That's more ears. That's more advertising dollars. but you got to have a premium product, and that's part of this, right? So we're going to say nobody else can come in and, do whatever they want to do by the NCAA or any type of governing body or even the SEC that's going to limit our student athletes, our universities from being able to put the best product that's on the field.
Yeah, I could see. I mean, I don't know if Ohio will get something done. Usually you see this done through the South. But
I'd already done it, Bob. I already done it. You and I would have done it.
Of course, if we were the governor. I mean, maybe there's a chance. Is it too late? I guess the governor's not up this time. Is next time? I mean, is there a chance that you could run for governor of Texas or governor of Ohio? Is that in the agenda?
Why not? It's not necessarily in the agenda. It could be. I don't know. All our Buckeyes. I don't know if people would be able to, withstand the energy that I would bring to the Capitol building, right? Because I mean, we're going to be
further, sir.
No, I mean, again, gas station ready, Waffle House ready, Capitol ready. Like, I mean, are we coming in here to just talk and be fluffers, or we're going to get stuff done here? You know what I mean? So it's, first off, whiteboards everywhere, a lot of coffee, a lot of double shots of espresso, and we're going in there and we're going to get the work done. And if you ain't about that life, then you should get out of there and I'll go tell your constituents to stop voting for you.
Well, Schlegel, you spent more money on spilt liquor from one end of the world to another, and ain't nothing going to hold those alligators down. All right, let's just remember that, Mr. Flair. All right, well, Georgia's doing something. I think other states will probably follow suit. I think they try to get this thing settled up the best they can. I don't think there'll ever be any federal governance coming, if you will, from this. Like, that's just not going to be the case. So people can hope for it. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is not an option. Hope is not a strategy. It's an option always, but it's not going to be a solution in this case. So people got to figure some things out and get it done. All right, coming up next, we're going to dive in. We got some AP rankings that we didn't hit yesterday. I want to go over that a little bit. And then there's also a little bit of some news. We got the headlines coming up. We've got tailgate talk. We got a lot of stuff. And Chris Plank going to be coming up after 1 o'clock. So stay tuned. Stay locked in here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Bobby Carpenter. I want to give a huge thank you and a shout out to Affinity Whole Health, the leaders in the testosterone replacement industry. I've been on a testosterone replacement program for a few years right now, and I've got to tell you, it's been an absolute game changer. Affinity Whole Health has allowed me to be the best version of myself, both mentally and physically. I loved how easy it was to get started. I booked my free consultation, met with my prescriber, checked my numbers, and Affinity Whole Health designed a program that was customized to fit my needs. So I'm telling you guys, if you have low energy, you want to get rid of that spare tire around the waist or take it to the next level in the bedroom, Affinity Whole Health is the place to get started. So don't wait any longer. 5 minutes of your time, book your free consultation. You're going to love the way you feel. All right, Schlegel, now we're welcome to headlines, which we've got from my friends over at Affinity Whole Health. Listen, Affinity Whole Health, they're the best. I've been a patient of them there for years. They offer personalized treatment plans to help people feel better. Whether you're struggling with weight loss, low energy, muscle loss, poor sleep, they can help you with all of it, folks, just like they've helped me. They have expert guidance and support to help you safely reach your healthcare needs. They've got Ohio covered. They're up in Cleveland. They're in Columbus. Also out in Indy, they're in Chicago. They are everywhere. So go set up your free consultation today by going to affinitywholehealth.com. That is affinitywholehealth.com. All right, Schlegel, we got some news here moving around the AP poll and Big Ten teams where they're at. Now, we had Georgia and Texas kind of flop at the top, but in Michigan, obviously, there's some movement there. But as we throw this graphic up and take a peek at it and see kind of where some of these teams are at, Ohio State's still sitting at number 3. Oregon is still sitting at number 9. Still got Penn State there right after them, USC. So you still have 4 teams right there, in the top 11. So you feel pretty good about that. When you see that, do you think that those teams are appropriately ranked at this point?
Well, one, we saw that Texas, and it goes back, like how good was Michigan? How good was that win? Because they were defending national champions. Texas jumped, Georgia after Georgia, barely beat and were a little bit exposed being on the road and at UK, and are we giving UK and being on the road SEC more than it really should be? And there's a lot of things that go into that. And the fact, Bob, that you had, 6 of the top 10 are all SEC schools. But regardless, where these are ranked, I think what Oregon did last week, they definitely show that they're a little bit higher than Penn State. USC is going to they're playing Michigan, right, this week. So,
yes. If Michigan's any good, this is going to be their last stand. They're going to have to make it count right here.
And Bill Bender's talking to Miller Moss about that, so tune into him. But, again, we also have another big one this week with Nebraska and Illinois playing. So some of that's automatically going to shake out. I believe there's going to be some attrition, and you're going to see 2 Big Ten teams fall out of the top 25 because I think Michigan's losing and Nebraska or Illinois is losing. So they'll be out.
Yeah, one of those teams will fall out. We'll see how. I think Nebraska beats Illinois. We'll get into that a little bit later. But it's great to see Nebraska in there. They're a big brand. Illinois obviously had the big win against Kansas. That catapulted them up in there. It would have been nice if Iowa would have been able to take care of Iowa State, but you need more teams in. It just makes it look better. You want to be able to try to get that number 1 overall seed. So you need an Oregon team to start climbing the rankings. And you're going to need Michigan, Schlegel, to stay in the rankings. You're going to need Penn State, if you're Ohio State, to stay in the rankings. Yep. I think Michigan probably gets beat, like you said, by USC. So that's probably going to get a little rough. Having 6 teams, what do they have? 6 teams right now, ranked 7 maybe, even better. But outside of the top 4, I don't really know the staying power of the rest. I think Nebraska might be here to stay, but I don't know if the rest of them ultimately are able to get that done. So we'll kind of see where that goes. Anyone else you think, like Illinois, I think is going to fall out? Kind of where do you see this shaking out, Schlegs, next week as we kind of move through this next week of games?
I think Nebraska will be in there. Again, we talked about it yesterday, Bob, and AJ brought it up too. Based on Indiana's schedule, we play them the second to last game before Michigan. They could potentially be ranked by that time based upon the schedule and how they've been playing. So that would be another ranked opponent. Again, this is why this is the beauty of college football, and we've seen this week in and week out. What team is showing up? What team is the most consistent? But again, if you're a Buckeye fan, go out there and handle your business. And we know that right now people are being swayed. I heard you this morning on Morning Juice, Marshall. They're trying to poach our guys, Bob, and feeding them biscuits and gravy down there in Marshall. But you know what? It's just like, hey, every day I go out, I got to show out, and we want to see Juicy J. They're focused on how do we just keep getting better 1 week at a time, because then you go on the road, you're playing on the Peacock, right? Michigan State, and you just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other and just keep getting better. When all these things are so early and we've seen the undulation of like how a team performs and then critical mistakes that teams are having through penalties and some of the bad ball and other people being exposed, the big games are all going to settle themselves out, and a lot of them are happening within the next 5 weeks. So we're really by that time going to see how it's being, how it's shaken up. But it was good for me and what you've been describing to see Oregon actually put the hammer down on Oregon State, kind of look like the Oregon that was highly seeded right at the very beginning of the year.
All right, we got one other thing here that I want to hit, Schlegs. Getting out the sound with it. The Marshall head coach coming in, and they're playing Ohio State. And obviously Marshall doesn't have the athletes that Ohio State does. And they watched it on film. So all these coaches you watch, you're kind of blown away. So Charles Huff, I don't know if he's related to Sam Huff, Schlegs. I don't think that he is. But he talked about a nice little NIL opportunity to maybe try to lure some of the Buckeyes down to Huntington, West Virginia.
And I feel good about the players we have. Would love to have some of those guys from Ohio State too. So if they want to transfer on down, we've got a Tudor's Biscuit NIL, all you can eat. So if any of those guys that run really, really fast at Ohio State, like Tudor's Biscuits, I promise you, all you can eat all day if you transfer here. So, but yeah. I don't know how to follow that.
What a great shout out. What a great shout out, man. I mean, honestly, I've had Tudor's Biscuit. Actually, I heard you talking about it, but when
where did you have Tudor's Biscuits, Schlegs?
In West Virginia, I was actually going to a coach's clinic years and years ago, and you went by Portsmouth and you cross over the river. It was right there on the exit. I had to get some gas.
One right outside of Portsmouth in New Boston, actually. I've never been there, but I'm going to have to go now.
I don't know if it was the one I went, because again, I don't know, because when you're driving down to Florida, I came up through West Virginia. Yes, you still have to pay tolls with actually cash money. So bring that accordingly. But
what do they say?
it was fantastic.
Stack them vertical, count them sideways.
Exactly, at the toll booth. I think it actually equates to a straight up $16. It might be a little bit more than that. I don't know. I digress. But I will say this, their biscuits and gravy are quite nice. And knowing that you would automatically fall asleep, it actually juiced me up, because I needed a little, thickness on my little meat on my bones, and I wanted it to stick a little bit. So I got a double helping of it, and it was quite delicious.
Absolutely. Well, that's tremendous. Listen, Promoted Tutors gets their name out there. They're talking about it on Get Up this morning. It checks a lot of boxes. It gets, Marshall out there. If you're Coach Huff, it puts you out there on a national landscape. It does a lot of positive things. And honestly, who doesn't love some biscuits and gravy? I prefer mine from Bob Evans. Tutors, they got one in Xenia, one in Lexington. Most of the other ones are down in West Virginia and southeastern Ohio. Maybe I'll have to check it out when I'm down there and see what's up. But I love it from Bob Evans. The problem is, Schlegs, it makes me want to take a nap. But right now we have to take a break. Coming up next, we got a quick tailgate talk. I want to show the video of Myers throwing up on the ball, because that's pretty good, and some news about another Buckeye and how they're doing. So stay tuned here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
Well, how do they know I'm doing this? Did somebody leak this out?
It's social media.
Oh.
That's the way social media works now.
I thought maybe you were just running that yap.
Welcome to Big Play, a sports media team that started back in 2014, and now we're not in a garage. Look at us, incorporating some of Cleveland's favorite sports personalities, bringing you fun and compelling content from downtown Cleveland. Coming to you live from the shores of Lake Erie and Burke Lakefront Airport, join Team Big Play for all the best sports talk in Ohio. Check us out on social media at Big Play, bringing you fun and compelling content from downtown Cleveland.
All right, Schlegs, as promised, we got a little tailgate talk. Tailgate talk is brought to you by our friends over at Real Truck. Listen, they're the #1 truck accessory brand in the United States with top-selling upgrades that make your truck as sweet as possible for the ultimate tailgate party. We'll be heading down there. AJ, you're going to be tailgating at Ohio State for the Marshall game coming up this week. So listen, Real Truck, taking care of us, take care of you. Gear up this season. Bring your truck to life with Real Truck at realtruck.com. All right, as promised, Josh Myers, Ohio State Buckeye at center. We talked with AJ about throwing up on the ball. I had to dig around for this a little bit. Some video from McAfee they put out there of him just blowing chunks on this football, which was absolutely tremendous, as you can see and take a look here. He's sitting here getting ready to snap this thing, Schlegs, and then boom, poof, David Copperfield throws up on it. Absolutely disgusting. Yeah, Schlegs.
I love it. I know. Hey, listen, here's the deal. It's kind of like, you've seen guys go, or we've even seen it where guys just absolutely crap their pants running the conditioning test. You don't stop. Because if you do, you got to come back next week and do it all over again. That sounds terrible. I'd rather just, I didn't do this, right? But that guy was probably, I didn't crap my pants. I had a system. I knew I needed to be as light as possible. Side nugget, somebody tweeted out, should we be worried about tutors? I was like, with you guys. And I was like, boo, back when I played, you throw me some of those tutors and some Bud Heavies, 100% should be worried. But I digress. What is he going to do? And he's just already sitting there. You just do it. And kudos to the quarterback. He just tucked it and ran. It's like, I got to get out of here. I can't throw this. This is terrible. It's all over the place.
Absolutely. Then there's one other thing that happened. The Steelers ended up beating the Broncos. Justin Fields was the quarterback. And a lot of coaches do this. They'll give a game ball out to a guy from a former team when they play. You beat your former squad, get the game ball, feel good. I mean, I got one in Miami. I got one for Detroit when we beat Miami. I was there briefly. Got one in Detroit when we beat Dallas, played pretty well. I played in both of those games. I played fairly well. Mike Tomlin throughout the Petty game ball. And our guy Justin Fields talked about this real quick, and he had the sound of what exactly it means, Pat. So let's make sure we can get this because people ask him about it. And Mike Tomlin's a player's coach. He does a great job of not addressing what exactly things are said in the locker room. Guys will put it out there. He doesn't get mad, but he says not everything is for public consumption.
Mike Justin mentioned how rewarding it was to get the win in Denver for Russ. He said you gave out a Petty game ball. Is that something that you've done often? Is it rewarding for you to get that win for him?
You know, none of your businesses, respectfully. There's certain things that go on among teams that I don't talk about. Whether it gets out or how it gets out is unimportant to me, and I'm not overly guarded against it. But it's just certain things as a leader that I talk to the collective about that I have zero intentions of sharing with the larger public, because it's about our collective and how we come together and how we appreciate and support one another. And, you know, I can't give you all the ingredients to the hot dog. You might not like it.
Mike Justin mentioned.
I love that.
You love it. So like, you don't want to know what's in the hot dog. People act like they want to know what goes on in the locker room. A lot of people are appalled when they actually hear what's being said and how it operates. It's like hot dogs out there. It just tastes good. Just consume the football. Just love what it is.
Yeah, I mean, guys, listen, I mean, there is HR in the NFL. There is HR at colleges. A lot of the stuff that goes on is
I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's not necessarily HR appropriate. And here's the thing, like the Steelers, you know, have won their games. They haven't turned the ball over. Justin Fields hasn't been like lighting up the scoreboard, but they've been winning. They're playing it with defense. And he's talking about the collective. It's like, hey, we're just here winning games. And part of what we do, having a culture and other guys coming from other places, like this is it. Like none of your damn business. So he doesn't need to expound upon it, but I just love the quote because sometimes I'm not going to say regular people, but I will say regular people that aren't into football. They just can't.
Gen Pop
just can't comprehend why is that significant to somebody else, and even how it could be significant to Russell Wilson having beat his team. Because really, when you think about it, like he didn't do necessarily anything to deserve that game ball, but you do like. And I would say it this way: how was he in the quarterback room with Justin Fields talking ball? How was he on the sideline engaging with players, talking about what he's seeing? Right? Because you can still contribute and not necessarily be on the field, though that's how everybody else, views it, because they never had the view of being on the field or in the arena.
You got it. Well, the view of the biggest game this week is going to be had, one of the biggest games. Actually, you know what I'm going to call? I'm not going to undersell. The biggest game this week in college football, Tennessee at Oklahoma. We got Chris Plank coming in, follows Oklahoma as close as you're going to find, tracks the SEC, Big 12. He's going to join us next to break down that game and so many more here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the
They're off in the Kentucky Derby as Authentic takes them around the far turn. Tis the Laws making his move now, and they're into the stretch. These two stride for stride. Authentic, tis the Law. Here's the wire. Authentic has won the Kentucky
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
All right, welcome back in the Bobby Carpenter Show. We welcome our guy, Chris Plank. Been on with us a number of times. Give him a follow on social media at Chris Plank Show. Chris, how are we doing on this lovely Wednesday and what is a very big week for your Sooners?
General, and let's go, baby. This is why you did this. This is why Oklahoma got in the SEC for a night like Saturday night. And, I understand things haven't gone all that well for Oklahoma through its first 3 games offensively, but defensively, buddy, Brent's got a wagon. And I think that Oklahoma's got a chance to slow down the Tennessee running game, which has been incredible so far this year. It's really good. If Oklahoma can't slow down their run game, it might be problematic on Saturday night. And we can get into that if you want, Bobby. But, man, I'm fired up. This has been a fun week leading up to Saturday night. Oklahoma fans have been waiting for a moment like this since it was announced that they were going to the SEC. You've got the storyline with Hype coming back, right? Josh Heupel, first time ever on the opposing team sideline. So there's a lot of cool things going into this weekend.
When you look at Tennessee, right, ththey've outscored their opponents 191-13 in 3 weeks. And I mean, can the defense really bridge that gap enough? Because OU also, right, last week lost the time of possession to Houston by like 11 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, to slow them down, you're going to have to control the football, control the line of scrimmage, and not have turnovers. Do you think that they can do it? Jackson Arnold can do that?
Yeah, Jackson against Houston, Jackson struggled. He didn't have his best game. The offense struggled. They had one drive, and you're like, here we go, and they were never able to match it. Against Tulane, you started to see a little bit more of what you wanted in the Jackson Arnold and the Oklahoma offense. The problem was they had one turnover, and it was a pick six. Now, I get a chance to talk to Teddy Lehman, a great lineman, a great linebacker at Oklahoma, like you guys were at Ohio State, and he had basically said, you can't have another pick six, you're going to lose the game. And Oklahoma was able to overcome the pick six and still win, but it wasn't a pick six because Jackson Arnold, threw a great pass and a Tulane defender made a great play. A running back missed a block, and he got smoked and tried to make something happen. And the running back was a true freshman too. So they have got to make sure their attention to detail is dialed in offensively. Because to me, I think one of the keys will be to sustain some drives, right? You mentioned it. Houston got smoked by almost 10 minutes in time of possession. A little better against Tulane. You could tell that defense was tired against Houston, but they made the plays when they had to. So to me, I get it, man. I understand that Tennessee's numbers are jaw-dropping and they're very impressive. But for Oklahoma, I also look at it and say, I don't think Tennessee's seen a defense like this yet this season. And Nico has not played in an environment like what Oklahoma is going to be on Saturday night. So Oklahoma's got to – I don't know if you would ever say Oklahoma goes into a game where they want to win the time of possession battle. But to me personally, I feel like that you almost feel you want to, right? You want to go out and control the clock a little bit. You want to run the football, and Oklahoma hasn't been able to do that so far this season.
How important are Jackson Arnold's legs going to be in this game playing? It's something that we've seen. I don't know if people that maybe haven't watched him realize the athlete that he is, kind of like Arch Manning. You see him throw the ball and you're like, okay, this guy's a great passer, but very, very fleet of foot as well. I mean, if they're going to try to get him involved in that run game a lot.
Yeah, I don't think Seth Luttrell, the Sooner offensive coordinator, wants to run him as much as they ran him on Saturday. I think that was kind of a product of protection that broke down, and there weren't a lot of designed runs. But I don't know what it is. Sometimes with guys who are built like Jackson, you don't think that they're a mobile quarterback, and he is, and he can be. When Jeff Lebby signed him, I remember doing the signing day show whenever, Lebby was the offensive coordinator for Oklahoma at the time, and I said, is he a true dual threat quarterback? And Lebby smiles like, oh yeah, he's a true dual threat quarterback. And I think you see that in what Oklahoma broke out last week. It's going to be a major part of what they do, Bobby. But I would also add, they've got Oklahoma doesn't use their running backs in the pass game. It's just they've thrown to him like 4 times all year long. And to me, you have these playmakers in Taylor Tatum and Gavin Sawchuk, who has not been able to get going this year. Get them the ball out in the flat in some space, and that can be a good security blanket for your quarterback. It just hasn't been something. The screen game has been non-existent for OU this year. So, you talk about Jackson Arnold's legs, and I agree, man. Use him, let him run the football. Learn how to slide, buddy. I don't need you taking these hits. He's not afraid to lower his head, but he's learning how to slide a bit. But to me, I would put that as a 1 and a 1A. Get your running backs involved in the passing game more.
And we've seen this in college football. It's all coming to the line of scrimmage, and we know how good Oklahoma's defense is. The question is, and something that we discussed on the show like from the jump has been OU's new offensive line.
Yeah, man.
And a lot of times you see those groups start to take a step, what we say in the second week, and now it's been 3 weeks. Do you think versus this Tennessee defense that they'll be able to take that step and really run the football to control the time of possession?
Yeah, I was trying to look it up real quick, Anthony, while you were making that point. But George Stoya, who covers the Sooners, had a list of the different offensive line combinations that Oklahoma has already used this season, and it's kind of jaw dropping. There's like 6 different combinations that they've used, and not like bringing them in blowout games like in key moments. They've had 3 different starting groups in each of the last 3 weeks, so you'll probably get a 4th different group to start on Saturday night. So to me, it's a matter of finding a healthy, consistent group. So I don't know how much time we have, but it started where you bring in Branson Hickman, right? They go and they get a center in the portal. Well, as soon as he gets here, he gets hurt. 10, I think he's played 9 snaps all year long, and he was a Remington Award candidate. And I think every center is a Remington Award candidate in the preseason, but he was on that list. You brought in the only consistent guy on this line was the least talked about dude in the portal, and that was Michael Tarquin. He is Tony Baselli's son-in-law, and he came in from USC, and we're like, all right, great. They got Michael Tarquin. Well, he's been the best guy they've had and the only consistent guy they've had because he's played about every snap, and they moved him from left to right tackle. So you felt like last week you started to get a little bit more consistency, right? Jake Taylor, the presumed starting right tackle, is still out. We'll get an injury report, and I bet he'll be listed as questionable. I think the same thing would be probably there for the center in Hickman. But, now Joshua Bates has kind of become your center, and he's done an okay job. Fabechi Wiwu, the North Texas transfer at guard, he's gotten better as the season has progressed. The problem has been they just haven't been able to be as consistent as their head coach wants them to be, as their offensive line coach Bill Bedenbaugh wants them to be. So I think it's a matter of getting healthy, but it's also a matter of, getting to work together with the same group of guys. And, Anthony, that just hasn't been the case for them so far this season.
All right, for those that don't know, obviously Tennessee, Oklahoma going to be taking place 7:30 ABC, big game there.
Yep.
Obviously, Norman, another big game in the state of Oklahoma, Plank, is Utah is going to be heading to Stillwater. Yes. I know you're more in the SEC now with your Sooners, still adjacent, Stillwater, Norman, 4:00 Fox, Utah, Oklahoma State there. Your thoughts on that game of what could determine kind of the early leader in that Big 12?
Yeah, I think it boils down. This is probably the same thing in the OU Tennessee game. It's who can establish the run. Oklahoma State early on against Tulsa. By the way, early on, like the first drive, had a little bit of a problem establishing the run. I'll do anything to try to make my alma mater look good. But they got it going. And if Ollie Gordon gets going, that opens up everything for this Oklahoma State offense. I think my favorite part of this, Bobby, is you have – 2 quarterbacks. And Alan Bowman, he played as a freshman against Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Cam Rising was originally committed to Oklahoma when Bob Stoops was the head coach. That tells you how long this dude has been in college. And then he ended up committing to Texas, and then he went to Texas, and he transferred out to Utah, and the rest has been history. I love the story of these 2 elder statesmen at quarterback too. But here's the thing is it's kind of the swing game, right? Whoever wins this game puts themselves probably in control of at least one of the spots in the Big 12 championship game, and maybe in a good position of an at-large bid, right? I don't think you're going to have a 2-loss team for the Big 12 make the big dance this year, the 12-team playoff, but you might be able to get in, with 1 loss. And I think Texas Tech's out, but I think Oklahoma State, I think they've got a chance to be that 1-loss team. Utah could be 2. So you're not out of it if you lose, but you put yourself in a really good position if you get this win to, at the very least, play in the Big 12 championship game.
Plank.
And that's
go ahead. We're short on time, Schlegel. I appreciate our guy Plank. He's been grinding on the radio all day. He hops right over for us to give us a breakdown of the biggest game this week, his Sooners. We really appreciate it, Plank. Thank you so much for joining today.
Yeah, and Bobby, I'll see you Saturday morning 8 a.m. Central Time for College Game Day Tailgate as we get ready for the big day games.
Can't wait. That is Chris Plank, Sooner Radio's network. Give him a follow on Twitter at Chris Plank Show. All right, coming up next, we will give you our final thoughts from Schlegel and wrap up the show. Thank you.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the.
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like. I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer.
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
Welcome back in the final segment of the program. Schlegel in our last 30 seconds or so. A lot of action in this show. Give us your parting thoughts.
Parting thoughts are this. Right now, it's boiling down to you have Big Ten getting 4, you have SEC getting 4. I can see the Big 12 getting 2. You got the ACC getting 1. You got to at-large. Like that's really how it's looking.
No,
no, I don't think so. I don't think they're going to be able to beat USC down the road. But that being said, that's why I like having all the guests that we have on. But that's why you play. That's why you play the game.
Absolutely. And just like 20 years ago, sometimes it takes a 55-yarder at the gun to be able to win a game that maybe you were favored by 20 or so in. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning in. Stay locked on here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.